get-go.
Just want to start today with a trigger warning disclaimer. This podcast contains descriptions of death and drowning. Hi, I'm Katie Carpenter.
I'm Terry Kovanitz.
We apologize for any and all mistakes today as we begin this episode of Titanic Transcripts.
The witness has been sworn. Give your full name and address.
Arthur John Bright, 105 Fir Grove Road, Southampton.
How old are you?
41, sir.
And what is your business?
Quartermaster.
Were you quartermaster on the steamship Titanic on the voyage from Southampton to the place of the accident?
Yes, sir.
And were you on duty when the accident occurred?
No, sir.
Were you on duty Sunday?
From 6 to 8 in the evening.
And then you were relieved?
At 8 o'clock.
And what did you do after you were relieved?
I turned in.
When did your next watch occur?
12 o'clock.
Where were you when the collision occurred?
In the bunk, asleep.
And how were you awakened?
One of the watch on deck came and called me and told me that the ship had collided.
Do you remember who did that?
The man has gone to England. Wynne, his name was. No, it was one of my own watch.
And what did he say to you?
He says, the ship is going down by the head.
Oh, was that immediately after the impact?
I do not know. I did not feel the impact at all. It did not wake me up.
And what did you do then? Did you rise?
I got up and dressed myself then.
And what did you do after that? I want you to tell in your own way just what you did after you dressed yourself.
I went out to the after end of the ship to relieve the man I should have relieved at 12 o'clock, a man by the name of Rowe. We stood there for some moments and did not know exactly what to do, and rang the telephone up to the bridge and asked them what we should do. They told us to bring a box of detonators for them, signals. Each of us took a box to the bridge. When we got up there, we were told to fire them, distress signals.
And who fired them?
Rowe and I, and Mr. Boxhall, the fourth officer.
How long did you continue firing the rockets?
6 were fired in all, I think.
One at a time?
Yes, sir, at intervals.
At intervals of how long?
I could not say. After we would fire one, we would go and help clear the boats away, and then we would come back again.
This firing of the rockets continued for some time, did it?
I should say probably a half an hour.
And in the meantime, were there more signals given?
That I could not say.
You could not see them?
No, sir.
Oh. What color did these rockets that were fired show?
I did not notice the color, but they burst after they got up in the air.
And then what colors were displayed?
I did not look to see.
You say you went to the boats after that, or from time to time while this firing was going on. Did you assist in loading the boats?
After we had finished firing the distress signals, there were 2 boats left. I went and assisted to get out the starboard one, that is, the starboard collapsible boat, and Rowe went away to help get the other one out, and I went away myself.
Was the starboard collapsible boat forward?
Close to the bridge on the boat deck.
And on the starboard side?
Yes.
Did you assist in loading that boat?
I assisted to get it up.
You assisted to get it up in position?
Yes.
Do you know the number of that boat?
I could not say. As soon as the boat was up in place, I was sent away to clear another one in place.
And you did not know who got into the boats? Like what members of the crew or passengers?
I have only learned since that Rowe, the man that was working with me, got into the boat. He was in charge of the boat, Rowe was, and I was in charge of the other one.
You do not know how many people he had in it?
Not in his boat, only my own.
And you do not know what proportion there were of men and women?
I could not say, sir.
In this collapsible?
No, not that one. My own boat I know about.
Do you know whether Mr. Ismay was in Mr. Rowe's boat?
I have learned so since, but I could not say then.
That was a collapsible lifeboat forward?
There were 4 collapsibles, and that was one of them.
I understand. That was a collapsible lifeboat forward on the starboard side.
Close to the bridge, yes.
And then where did you go after that? You went to this other boat, but where was it?
I was on the opposite of the deck to where that was.
On the port side?
On the port side, right forward, close to the bridge.
And what was that, a collapsible?
Yes, identically the same as the other one.
And what did you do there?
We got that one out and filled it up with passengers.
And how many passengers? How many people?
When the boat left the ship, there were 25, all it would hold.
And did you count them?
I did not count them then, but after we got away, there was Mr. Lowe. The fourth officer came alongside us in another boat and told us to stick together, and he asked the number in the boat, and there was a steward by the name of Hardy counted them up and told him. And then they put 10 or a dozen men into our boat because it was not filled up.
A 10 or a dozen into your boat from where?
From some other boat. It was dark. I could not tell which one it was.
Was it from a swamped boat?
No, from a boat that was overloaded.
You do not remember the number of it?
No, sir. It was dark and I could not see.
You do not remember what officer was in charge of it, if any?
Mr. Lowe, the fifth officer.
You took those passengers from Mr. Lowe's boat into yours.
There were 5 boats, all close up together, and where boats were overloaded, he was taking the people out and putting them into the boats that had room to carry them.
Did you take any people out of your boat and put them into his?
1 seaman out of my boat.
When you got part of Mr. Lowe's passengers into your collapsible, how many did you have altogether in it?
If we took a dozen, it would be 37. I did not count them afterwards, but there were 25 before.
How did it happen that you did not load this lifeboat to its capacity before it left the boat deck?
I had nothing to do with the loading of it. The officer was in charge of that.
What officer was superintending the filling of this boat?
The last officer I saw there was Mr. Lightholer.
Did it accommodate comfortably these passengers that you took from Officer Lowe's boat?
Oh, there was room for more.
Oh, did you get any more?
No, not until sometime afterwards. Just at daylight, we did get some more.
And where did you get them?
We saw a boat, one of the collapsible boats that was awash, just flush with the water.
Oh, you mean being swamped?
Yes, and the same officer, Mr. Lowe, came back and took my boat in tow, because we had very few men to pull, and towed us down to this one that was just awash, and took 13 men and 1 woman off that.
Did you leave anybody in it?
No, except the 2 dead bodies. There were 2 dead bodies.
They were standing in water when you came up to them?
About halfway, just about the ankles.
Were they making signs to you?
No, sir. They had been singing out in the dark. As soon as it got daylight, we could see them.
When it got daylight, you went to them?
Yes, we rescued them then.
And you turned the swamp boat adrift?
Yes, there was no way to do anything with it, so we left it there.
With the 2 dead bodies?
With 2 dead bodies. They were covered up with a lifebelt over their faces.
And you left them?
Yes, sir.
Did you take up any more people after you left this swamp boat?
No, we did not pick up anybody.
Before you reached the Carpathia?
No, we were taken in tow and towed back under sail to the Carpathia.
You were taken in tow by Mr. Lowe's boat?
Yes, sir.
Under sail?
He was under sail.
And you were towed?
To the Carpathia, yes, sir.
I'll show you that little picture. Do you see anything about that looks like your boat?
No, sir.
This boat that is ahead there is not under sail?
No, that is a collapsible boat behind, but we were in tow. That boat, if it had been behind, would have been under sail. That is a collapsible boat behind, but it's not the boat I was in.
Mr. Lowe's boat had a sail?
Yes, sir, it had a sail.
Do you know the names of any of the passengers or members of the crew that were in the lifeboat in which you reached the Carpathia?
The only one I know of is Steward Hardy, and he's up here now.
And what is his name?
Hardy. I knew several third-class passengers by sight, but not by name. One man was in, but has gone to Albion. He was a passenger to Albion.
Mr. Ismay was not in your boat, was he?
No, sir. He was in the starboard collapsible boat.
Were there any other lifeboats on the boat when you took to the lifeboat yourself?
All the lifeboats were away before the collapsible boats were got off.
All were away before the collapsible boats were lowered?
They had to be, because the collapsible boats were on the deck, and the other boats had to be lowered before they could be used.
In other words, the same tackle...
The same tackle that took the other ones took the collapsibles.
The same tackle and gear with which the lifeboats were lowered and the emergency boats?
Yes.
The same tackle with which the lifeboats and the emergency boats were lowered was employed after they had gone in lowering the collapsible boats?
That is right, sir.
Now, how do you know Mr. Ismay was in the collapsible that was on the other side, on the starboard side?
I saw him standing there, and that was the only 2 boats left.
And he was not in your boat?
No.
Therefore, he must have gone in the other?
I found out he was saved, so he must have gone in that one.
Did he make any attempts to get into yours?
No, he did not make any attempt to get into any boat.
I do not think I've asked you how many of the 55 in your lifeboat were members of the crew.
There was just a steward and 1 fireman.
And all the others were women?
There were 2 men passengers there, and the remainder were women and children.
5 men and 20 women and children.
Yes, sir. At first. Then there were 10 or a dozen more afterwards.
Tell us exactly. I recall just what you said about taking the others.
When we left, there were 20 of them.
Did you see these lights on the horizon that night?
You mean after the ship went down?
No.
Before?
Yes, in any direction. I do not mean in the direction of the Titanic. I mean away from the Titanic.
As soon as we got away from the ship, we were told to keep together if possible, to keep as close to each other in the boats as possible. There was a light sighted away, I should say possibly 4 or 5 miles away, off the port bow of the ship. It looked to me like a sailing ship, like a fishing boat. There were no lights to be seen about the hull of the ship, if it was a ship. We pulled toward that for a time.
What was the color of the light that you thought you saw?
It was a white light, like the steaming light of a ship would be.
I am not clear about a statement I understood you to make, that Lowe went away in the starboard collapsible boat?
Rowe, one of the quartermasters.
Oh, another quartermaster.
Yes, Mr. Lowe was 5th officer, and Rowe was a quartermaster.
Lowe was in one of the lifeboats.
Yes, sir. He was in the one that had a sail on it. Yes, sir.
The collapsible boat on the port side was the last boat to leave the ship.
Yes, sir. I was in it myself.
You know it was the last boat to leave the ship.
Yes, sir.
How long after she left was it before the ship went down?
It could not have been long. We were told to pull clear and get out of the suction, and I suppose we got about 100 yards, or maybe a little more away from the ship.
Did you lie on your oars then and wait?
We were told to keep together, if possible, in the boats.
Was it 25 or 30 minutes or an hour?
No, I should say it was as near half an hour as possible. When I left, the forecastle was going underwater.
Then the collapsible boat on the starboard side was next to the last boat to leave the ship.
Yes, I did not see that lowered. I saw them getting ready to lower it, and I went to the other side to get the other one up.
You know that was the only one left on the ship?
Yes, sir. All the lifeboats went down before that.
The collapsible boat on the port side was lowered after the one on the starboard side?
Yes, the starboard one went down before the other one.
And it went down immediately before the one on the port side?
I could not say how long. I suppose it was 20 minutes or more. It was getting ready before I went down.
Do you think that collapsible boat on the starboard side was next to the last boat to leave the ship?
I do think so, yes, sir.
That was the one that nearly foundered afterwards?
I cannot answer that.
Well, there was no other. There were only 2 collapsible boats, were there not?
2.
Then you did not know whether the one on the starboard side was the one that got in trouble afterwards and the other boat foundered?
I can only answer for 2. The other 2 I do not know anything about. I know we picked some off of one that was swamped. Which one it was of the 4, I do not know.
Was Mr. Ismay on that one?
No, sir. They were mostly... I think there were several firemen and stewards. I would not be certain. And there were a few third-class passengers and 1 woman.
What became of the passengers that were taken off of that foundered collapsible boat?
Mr. Lowe took them into his boat. It was only manned by a crew.
He took them into his boat?
Yes.
And none into your boat?
No. He went around to all the boats and put as many in other boats as he could, so as to have a clear boat to put in anyone he could find.
And he already put 10 or 12 in your boat?
Yes, sir, previous to that.
Nothing happened to your boat?
No, sir.
Mr. Bright, you did not see any ship or vessel of any sort next morning in the direction of that light that you had seen during the night?
No, that seemed to disappear all at once. The next we saw was the Carpathia just before daylight.
How far were you from her when you first saw her?
The Carpathia?
Yes.
About 4 miles.
And you say that was before daylight?
Just before daylight she came in sight.
You saw her lights?
Yes, we could see her lights.
I want to ask if you picked up Second Officer Lightoller from the water.
No, I did not.
There were 2 collapsible boats forward near the bridge, one on each side?
Yes, sir, and 1 on each side of the wheelhouse.
Then there was a collapsible boat on the officers' quarters.
Well, that is what I call the wheelhouse. There was 1 up on each side of that.
Which one was the first to go into the water? The collapsible boat that you were in, or the collapsible boat that Mr. Ismay was in?
Mr. Ismay's.
Then you followed.
Yes, sir.
And in his boat, how many people were there?
I have no idea. I was not there to see them.
And in your boat, about how many had you?
25.
As you have stated, there were 20 women and 5 men?
Yes, sir. Women and children.
How high was the water on the deck when your boat was lowered?
Do you know the forecastle of the ship?
Yes.
Well, what we call the forecastle head was just going underwater, so that would be about 20 feet lower than the bridge, I should say.
In other words, the boat had sunk about 50 feet into the water?
Yes, sir, all of that, because when the boat was lowered, the foremost fall was lowered down, and the other one seemed to hang. And I called out to hang on to the foremost fall and to see what was the matter and let go of the after one.
Was there any suction about the Titanic when your boat was lowered into the water?
No, sir, there would not be any suction until she was under.
I understand that, but I want to know whether there was any apparent suction there.
I did not have any difficulty in getting away.
No difficulty at all?
No, sir.
I have asked all of the others who were close about when the ship went down the same question, and I've had the same reply.
It was 50 to 100 yards away, I would say, when she went down. I could not be exact, but about that.
Did she break in two?
She broke in two. All at once, she seemed to go up on end, and come down about halfway, and then the after part righted itself again, and the fore part had disappeared. A few seconds, the after part did the same thing and went down. I could distinctly see the propellers, everything, out of the water.
Were there any women and children on deck when you left?
There must have been crowds aboard.
Where you were?
No, sir.
None in hearing distance of you?
I did not see them.
You cannot say positively that there were none there?
No, sir, because the lights had gone out in the fore part of the ship then. The lights went out after we got away. The lights were burning in the after part of the ship.
And could you hear anyone?
Oh, you could hear some.
Wanting to get on the boat?
I could not say as to that. There were lots that were asked to get into the boat, and they said they would rather stay on board the ship. Lots of women said that.
Did they say that to you?
Not to me, but I was assisting in getting the boats ready.
But did any ladies refuse to get in that boat, that last boat? Any who were asked to get in?
Not to my knowledge.
Were there some there?
I did not see any when that boat went out.
It was dark.
My attention was elsewhere, as I was looking after the boat getting clear. You see, they got the boat clear of the ship, and then the people were put in afterwards.
And you were on board the boat?
Yes, keeping her in upright position to save the people from falling into the water.
And Mr. Lightoller and several others were helping the passengers in, you have said. Did they call out for anybody to come there?
No, I could not hear.
If there were people there, you had room for 10 or 12 more anyhow in that boat. And why did you not put them in?
I had nothing to do with putting them in.
Why did he not put them in?
I could not say.
And Mr. Lightoller was left on board. You left him on board the boat.
We left him on board the ship.
Did you have a light in your boat?
There was a lantern passed into the boat, but I could not light it. I tried to get it to light.
All the lights on the ship were not out then.
No, it was only the after section, though, that was burning. The after part of the boat had her lights burning.
After she broke in two?
Until she went underwater, yes, sir.
Were you the last boat to leave the ship?
Yes, sir.
And you were from 50 to 100 yards from the ship when she sank?
Yes, sir.
And you rode from the ship without cessation?
Without what?
Without stopping?
Yes, sir.
Until she sank? How long a period was it from the time you left the ship until she sank?
I only had 2 oars pulling,
Well, how long a time do you think it was? Like how many minutes?
I should say it was nearly half an hour. We were not pulling in a straight direction.
You were circling around?
Yes, sir, trying to find the other boats.
Oh, you were not trying to get away from the ship?
We were told to get together if we could do so and keep together, and as soon as I located a boat, I would pull for that.
But at no time were you more than 100 yards from the ship from the time you left it?
Not when she went down.
Did you hear an explosion after you left the ship?
I heard something, but I would not call it an explosion. It was like a rattling of a chain more than anything else.
You did not hear any explosion? You did not think the boilers blew up?
No, it was not like that. It was not such a sound as we could hear if the boilers exploded. It was like a rattling of chains.
The ship went down by her bow first, and you could see the stern and see the keel on the stern, could you?
Yes, sir. Then that righted itself again. Got on an even keel again after that.
That is the stern.
It settled down in the water on an even keel.
But the bow had disappeared.
Yes, sir.
Hence you assume that she broke in two. The bow lights were extinguished, were they?
You could not see anything of them after that.
Did you see any lights on the stern after she settled?
Yes, sir. Until she finally disappeared underneath the water.
Until the stern disappeared after the break?
Yes, sir.
And where did she break? Tell us about where she broke into.
Well, It was as near the middle as anything, I should say, but it was dark.
Now, who handed you the lamp? Was it the lamp trimmer, Hemmings?
I could not say who it was. The lamp trimmer was assisting to get that boat out with me, so I could not say who it was.
He did not hand you the lamp?
I just could not say. The boat was over the side then.
Did you see the lamp trimmer?
I saw him.
Did you see him with lamps in his arms, going around giving them out to the boats?
No, the last time I saw him, he was assisting to get that boat out.
After you left the Titanic in this collapsible boat, did anyone try to board it from the water?
No, sir.
Or did anyone try to get out of it?
No, sir.
You did not go back to the scene of the disaster after you pulled out into the sea away from the Titanic?
No, by the time we got clear, we did not have time to go back. We were told to keep together, you see.
You kept together and did not return again to the scene of the disaster?
No, sir. Mr. Lowe, who gave us the order to stay together, went back.
In number 14?
I just could not say.
He went back in the sailboat?
He did not have any sail up then.
Well, you said it had a sail up when you next saw him.
Yes, sir.
And he took your boat in tow?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think that is all. You will be excused. And I would like to recall Alfred Crawford. Mr. Crawford, you testified regarding that iceberg. You said, as I recall, that you saw an iceberg passing on the starboard side.
Yes, after the collision.
And where were you?
I was on B deck. I went out from B deck, out to the promenade there.
And that was aft?
No, sir. Forward.
You were forward?
Yes, sir.
On B deck?
On B deck.
And you saw the iceberg that struck the ship?
I saw the iceberg going along the starboard side, sir.
Just describe that iceberg, please.
It looked like a large black object going alongside the ship.
Could you tell us about the size?
I could not see the top because there was a deck above us.
And so it was higher than B deck?
Oh, yes, much higher.
And how close was the side of the ship to it?
It did not seem very far away.
Could you tell anything about the dimensions of it as to the length or the width?
No, sir, I could not. I just saw the object scrape alongside the ship.
Did it come in contact with the side of the ship?
I do not think so.
Okay, that is all. You may be excused. Woof. That was a lot of chaos.
Yeah, this is an interesting account, too, because he's so late to the game.
Yes, yes.
And there's still quite a bit going on.
Yeah, and a lot happened in that short amount of time because they were just loading, and then he's got people, like,
they're already
the front end is under, and we're hooking it up to the lowering gears, and that was nuts.
And also very respectable and commendable that they called to see what to do instead of just getting out.
Yeah, that was impressive. And no wonder he needed towed, because one steward and one fireman, and he himself,
and that's it. Yeah,
that was it.
And then I love how he stressed quite a few times, well, I know my own boat, but I don't know anything about it. And then they just kept, okay, but how can you tell us how many passengers in the other boat? Yeah. Okay, you don't know how many, but how many were men and how many were women?
How much time they spent on the other boat.
Yeah.
What about his boat?
Yeah, why call him up at all?
Stuff was going on in his boat.
Yeah,
or,
and then really seems like out to get Ismay.
Yeah.
Was he in the other boat? Did he try to get in any boats first?
And,
which boat was he in? What about Ismay? What about...
And I reread the Ismay interview.
Oh, yeah?
I re-listened to it.
Okay.
And I don't see why they're gunning for him.
Yeah, I really don't.
You know, he
besides
welcomed the
his
interview.
Title, yeah. I mean, and he seems really remorseful, too, and we've heard many accounts that he was in, like, a deep depression, and he was really mad at himself.
He didn't
that
design
there
the
were
boat.
more women, and, but how...
He wasn't working on the boat.
And I think that in one way, it's like, yes, obviously there are more people on board because we know there weren't enough lifeboats. Mm-hmm. Did all these people know there weren't enough lifeboats? Did Ismay know? Because it sounds like he was very diligent in getting everybody in, and then it looked, we're down to the last two boats, so, and I don't really see anybody else, so... Yeah, obviously it must be it.
I don't know why he's got such a target. And I went back to check because it seems so clear that they did target him.
Yeah.
And then the ship they saw when they were in the water sounds different than the one the other guys saw. Yeah, because there's no green light.
Yeah, but it does coincide, though. Like, they saw it, they pulled for it, then it disappeared.
Yes.
And that's so weird. Like, it's such a mystery to me every time they say that. It's so wild. Like, oh, it just disappeared. Like, we just rode and rode and then gone. Like, they all saw, it's not just one person, oh, I know I saw a light, but nobody believes me. It's
and it was
everyone.
because it was just before they saw the Carpathia coming that light disappeared.
Yeah.
But it was still dark,
but they're
according
in
to
different
this guy.
directions, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very...
So weird.
It's just so mysterious.
And low. Wow. Clear head in a crisis. I'm impressed. You hook you two guys to me.
Stay together.
We're going to keep an empty boat for rescues.
Yeah, really
and we're just
smart.
going to keep rescuing, giving somebody else the passengers.
Well done. I mean, to also notice, because we heard by many accounts, again, a lot of people didn't want to get in at first, and a lot of people thought nothing was going to happen. You know,
right.
So that's why some of the boats were more sparse in the beginning, because they just couldn't even get people to go in. So yeah, really clear head to think, okay, I know we've got extra spaces, and also to stay together. I wouldn't have thought of that.
No.
Like, I'm such a turd, but I just would not have thought, like, to stay together. I just would have gotten that boat and just started rowing for probably the light if I saw it like everybody else, but just, you know, went in one direction without thinking about a future rescue and that we could potentially just be drifting out there alone.
Here, yeah,
I wouldn't have thought about that at all.
Long gone.
I would have just been like, okay, sit, and I'm just going to row.
And
okay,
row,
here we go.
Until somebody tells me to stop. That's funny. You're funny.
And then, again, I keep picturing, like he mentioned, that he had to get the boat out and away and then keep it upright because it's a collapsible boat.
And
so
the
that the
ship is
passengers
leaning.
didn't fall. Yeah, and the ship's already going. So I just really keep picturing, even though they keep saying different, but I keep picturing them just getting in the boat, in the lifeboat, on the ship, and then you know.
Yes.
So it's just such a harrowing, like... And then, you know, the lady fell in the other account that we heard. Like, it's just so...
Maybe more than one lady.
What a situation.
and like the lifeboat that had the water up to their ankles. Could you imagine being on that boat? And it's effing cold.
Yeah, they said they had to punch each other to...
And you got to think when the water's that
that no
close
one's...
that you're done.
Yeah, this is it.
This man. So...
Yeah.
And then seeing that ship... The Titanic lift up.
How massive.
That had to be such a sight.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, just, the sheer size of it to, you know, be one tiny human and see that. Oh, it's unreal.
And I would have been, I'm shocked that there wasn't more chaos when it went down.
Yeah, I agree.
That it didn't cause any more
destruction
destruction. Didn't land on anybody's ship or anybody's lifeboat.
Yeah.
And no suction and all that. No, it just, to be
so
that
wild.
In this tiny piece of the ocean and this huge thing. Yeah, that boggles my poor little mind.
I'll post a video to the Facebook page, but a listener sent me a video of a survivor's account, and it's just a small clip. It might even be from A Night to Remember, I'm not sure, but it's just a small clip, and it's an older lady, and she's just saying how calm everyone was, and that even the music was playing, which I know is in the movie Titanic, but I wasn't sure if that was real. But I guess they were playing music until they went down. And I forget, she says the name of the song, so you'll have to look, but I forget what it was. But it's just so, everyone was so calm, and, you know.
Yeah, definitely post that. That
but knowing now what, you know, the magnitude of it, it's just so, it's so, like, eerie that it was such a serene
And the different perspectives, like that he did not hear an explosion.
Yeah.
But he was one of the last ones off, so he would have been the closest.
Yeah.
So I would expect, would have heard a noise much...
I agree,
earlier, much easier than the people further away.
People that were further away.
And just the different... Everything at the same time, but a lot.
Yeah.
But through everybody's eyes, how different it was. But like, when one of your kids tells a story... And your focus is that this is what was said, and his focus is, and this is what I did with my face.
Yeah.
And how everybody's perspective on the same exact thing is so different.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And then the last thing I have is I'm just curious, and I don't think it was, but when he showed the picture and he said, "Oh, do you recognize?" And he's like, "Well, that's not my boat," and that's. Did they have a picture?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I don't either. It doesn't. That seems impossible.
I think he was just showing, because of the sailboat or the other boat, to get
which one? Okay,
to get an image for the senator.
I think it confused him, and it confused me too.
Is this what your boat looked like?
Yeah.
Kind of
okay.
thing?
All right, that makes more sense. I'm just thinking how the media knew before anyone else. But I also have to remember it's 1912.
Yes.
Nobody pulled out a cell phone.
And then again, he keeps asking a lot of people this. Did anybody try to get out of the boat after it was in the water, the lifeboat?
Yeah. Doubtful.
What?
It was freezing cold, dude.
I'm done with this.
Yeah, you know what?
I can see when you're on the ship.
Yeah,
and you're getting loading up.
Yeah.
Say, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
But
yeah, after watching the ship sink.
Why? Yeah. I'm so sick of you guys. I'm out. It's just cray-cray.
Yeah.
I don't understand some of this stuff. Oh, but that's all I have. And I don't have anything for Crawford.
Yeah, I just wrote down why. Why bring him back?
Good question. Well, hopefully we'll know as we go down.
I mean, I guess maybe if he had a bigger picture of how big the iceberg was or something. But yeah, why?
Yeah, there was no new information. So I don't know if they were headed for something, because clearly the senator has information we don't.
And sometimes it seems like he's got reasoning.
The whispers and the notes being slid.
Maybe he thought the iceberg was drunk. Who knows?
So hopefully we'll find out. That will give us more, but we don't know.
All right, what happens to our boy Arthur?
And then Arthur John Bright, he began his career in the Royal Navy, and then he switched to merchant service 15 years later. And then prior to the Titanic, he married and divorced, and then married someone else and became a widower, and then got married again.
This was all prior to that?
Yeah, this was all prior, so he's a kind of a player.
Okay.
He never had children. His brother-in-law was master at arms on the Titanic.
Oh.
And he survived, but he was not called on to testify.
Oh.
So after the Titanic, he continued...
I wonder why. Master at arms sounds really important.
Important, yes. Because there's only quartermaster. There's at least 4 of them. But anyway, he continued working at sea after the Titanic, and he rejoined the Navy for World War II, but he was released from service a fortnight later due to an eye problem.
Wow.
And then he died at
only
86.
A fortnight,
so he did a lot. Well, he's a quartermaster, so, a fortnight is appropriate. So, yeah, just this little interesting little life, and...
All right, Arthur.
Not what I would have expected from the interview.
No, not at all. Not what I was picturing.
Very fascinating. And hopefully you can post a picture of him on Facebook, because he's quite an interesting looking character.
Yes, he is.
So that's all we have for this time. We'll see you next time.
Bye. As always, thank you for listening. Please be sure to let us know what you're thinking in the comments or at titanictranscripts@gmail.com. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook page, Titanic Transcripts, for more interesting tidbits and general discussion.